Hey there, welcome to the My Risk Advisor podcast. This podcast is for anyone in the financial planning ecosystem with a focus on life risk insurance. I'm your host, Phil Thompson, Director and Financial Advisor at Sky Wealth, and I've been on a business journey over the last few years going from a struggling holistic advice firm with one staff member, considering packing it all in, to pivot the business now to being one of Australia's leading specialist insurance advice firms with over 7 advisors, 30 team members, and helping hundreds of clients every single year get important insurance cover in place. I am unashamed to say that this podcast is so I can continue to grow and develop as an advisor and a business owner as I interview some incredibly smart individuals. So keep on listening so you can learn alongside me. All right, so today on the podcast, I've got Brad Gecelter, who's a partner at Perpetual Private and Priority Life. Thanks for coming, Brad.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Phil.
No worries. Well, first question, did I butcher your last name or did I?
No, you did well. You did really well. Yeah, I'm impressed. You actually got it the first time. So, kudos to you.
Good stuff. All right, so we're going to just chat about your advice journey. I'd love to hear about that, and we'll talk about the business. So help me understand, how did you get into advice?
Really good question. I got into advice. I started in the world of hospitality and working in hotels. I loved the service side. And as a young sort of 24-year-old, I realized, listen, maybe this wasn't the world for me in terms of hours, remuneration, etc. Not that has, but we'll get into that, Phil. I sort of decided I always had a really key interest in the market, investments, etc. Even from a young age in school. So I thought, where can I put both together? Which was a service, dealing with clients, and then giving them a bit of advice in that side. And a lovely mentor of mine, a gentleman named Danny Peer, said to me, "Why don't you try financial planning?" So off I went. I got a job at Hill Ross, and my journey started.
Yeah, cool. Did you go through the A&P Horizons program?
I didn't go through A&P Horizons. It wasn't around. This was sort of early 2000 or end of 2006, actually. Yeah. Around August 2006, I started in the practice, which was a holistic practice. I had this incredibly suave financial planner who was the director of the business, a gentleman named Robert Falconer, who I'm still actually very close to. And, the most dapper guy, incredibly dapper. And hopefully he hears this because he was always immaculate. A real good intro into the industry.
The complete opposite to me, by the sounds of it. I look like a hobo most days, so that's good.
That's all right.
And so you joined a holistic practice. So what kind of led you to specialising in insurance?
Great call. I loved the investment side and I loved the planning side. About 10 months after that, I was introduced to David Davidson, who later on became my partner and a great friend and a great mentor. And I started working. I actually met him and had my first interview with him and said, I couldn't work for him. David's an incredible businessman, an incredible advisor. But when you first sort of interview with him, it's a bit scary. So I thought, no way. I walked out of there. I was dressed so smart, dapper, all ready to go. And I thought, no way. A week later or so, I met David again and it was freezing cold, and I wasn't wearing a jacket. And this is true to David's style. Okay, freezing cold. We went outside. He knew I was outside. He could see I was cold. He interviewed me for about an hour and a half, and then we worked out, okay, this is going to be a good partnership along the way. So I decided, what, I was 23 years old. The business was close to home. David had a great reputation, and it was something different. And I thought, hey, if it doesn't work in insurance, then I'll move back to holistic. But I wanted to give it a try and be a part of such a unique business, but also have some time in a small business and help grow that.
Yeah. And so, you joined that business. I'm looking at your LinkedIn. You joined in 2007.
Yep.
And then you became a partner in 2015. What was that kind of journey between, spending 8 years working in the business, helping it grow, and then what was that kind of move to partnership? What did that look like?
Yep, perfect. I mean, I started really at the bottom with David, and which was phenomenal. And I've used the same trajectory that David used with me with a lot of our staff. Okay, so I started 2007 in admin. I was quickly sort of moved up into paraplanning. Now, our paraplanners in our business, and this is what I was doing, were across everything. They're across every little bit of advice. So, initial research, looking at options, to statements of advice, to implementation. So I really spent about 4 years on the paraplanning side. Now you think, wow, 4 years to learn risk paraplanning. Hopefully people will know, and they know our business. The success we've had is because of that grounding. It was so essential. Dealt with great people, learned products, learned how to put through advice, learned underwriting, and that was about a 4-year journey. In that meantime, David actually put me through the MLC scholarship program, which was a great program at the time. We were an Apogee practice, so they offered it to a few guys to do it, and it was a really good program just to sort of more on the communication side, dealing with clients, looking at sort of the value advice, trying to find those little areas to disturb clients. It was a real big premise of what they were doing, was trying to disturb clients. And I spent 2.5 years in that, and then I went on to be an advisor.
Yeah, right. And so, and what does the team look like today with Priority Life?
So we've got about 17 in our team. 17. We've got about 6 risk advisors. The rest associates, we like to call them, which are our paraplanners, and then we've got a few admin help people to sort of an office manager and an admin person.
And you said your paraplanners are doing kind of implementation as well, so they're across the whole spectrum.
Correct, absolutely. So they're across the whole thing.
Yeah, and so you said 4 years of training, and as you said, a lot of people are like, well, 4 years to learn risk, it's not that hard, is it? Do you feel like you were fairly patient back then? Do you feel like people are less patient these days and more in a hurry to start advising as early as possible?
Really a great question, Phil. I mean, they are, I'm not going to lie, they are. People are impatient. The key thing is risk it's a different world, Phil. It's not just about selling someone a policy or telling someone they need this amount of cover, this amount of income, this amount to cover their debt. It's a really emotional journey that you've got to be a part of with the client, and you've got to be confident that what you're doing will give the client or provide the client the promise that we're offering to them up front. So it's really not, the world of selling insurance has gone, in my view. Everyone has to sell themselves and sell advice. I'm not going to lie that we don't sell things, but the world of advice, being patient, has changed dramatically to what it was years ago. So my view is that, people are impatient, but the good, really fantastic advisors out there, Phil, are ones that learn, and have that emotional connection with clients. And that takes a long time to learn. That takes a long time to learn how to deal with clients when there's an issue, deal with clients when they're mentally unwell. We all do that. So, and that's a big challenge. You can't just learn that in a year or two. That's my view, and I see the success of the guys in our business and how amazing these guys are. It's just, and I've only seen it one way. So that is really my view.
Yeah, we're just formulating that training program within our business. And, I think about for our business, we talk about, like, we're just kind of building out a framework where it's like 2 to 3 years in the associate world, which is the implementation, the paraplanning, all of that, and then starting PY for 12 months or 18 months, depending on how long PY takes. I don't know if you guys put anyone through it, but it can be painful to get to, the second half and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And then 2 years after PY is kind of like, we call them the junior advisors in our business. And so, we're talking about like a framework, they're advising in that stage, but there's a big training component in that. They're called a financial advisor, but internally when they become a financial advisor, there's a big kind of 4 or 5 year training kind of ground. And these are people who do admin now and then they move to associate. So they're already getting a few years before that as well. So what I'm thinking about is like, how patient are our team members going to be through our process? And we ask them and we talk to them about it. And for me, it's just about, as long as we give them clear guidance of where their path is, then I feel like they're patient enough. As long as they know, okay, once I hit this thing, I'll move on to this stage. Is that what you guys find? We're having a bit more structure in the business?
Absolutely. I think, it's a challenge, Phil. I look at, from a business point of view, it's a real challenge for advisors, business owners to invest that length of time in an associate. They're not generating income. So it's a struggle. How do you get it right? We were always probably fortunate as a business to be able to, from an income point of view, there was revenue continuously coming in, and we had a really successful business that we were able to invest a longer journey into a lot of our associates to get them up to that really high level. What you're doing is exactly similar to what we've done. Can every business do that? It's hard, Phil. It's really tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I listen to a lot of advisors talk about, well, why training in them and then they leave. And a part of me, the way I think about it, we just did our all team meeting yesterday, our quarterly all team meeting, and a part of me, I go like, I actually want, if people leave the business, and they'll do whatever's best for them, but I kind of want people to look back at their time at Sky and go, oh, I learned so much then, or like kind of have this legacy, whether they're in the business or not. Like, it all comes around anyway. We may as well train them really well. And if they leave and become successful elsewhere, amazing. Like, how good is that they can look back and go, yeah, well, that was my time there that build those foundations.
It's so true. I mean, I look at, and just a bit of brief history. I mean, we've got, 4 advisors now have worked under me throughout my years there. 4 brilliant advisors. 2 are still here, and they all went through 3 to 4 years of training. One of them actually went through even 6, because unfortunately there was an issue with his registration prior to all the changes. But he's an incredible advisor, amazing, top quality, can deal with any issue, any people, and I'm talking high levels of premium, tough clients. I've just got my associate who's been with me now for about 4 years, just finished his PY. Yeah, and Phil, it's pretty heavy, It's heavy on both the advisor, the supervisor, and the student. It's ridiculous how many hours they have to do. It's just that they are such great advisors. It's a big commitment from a business, and it's a huge investment. And will they leave? You've got to try and ensure they don't.
Yeah, awesome. So in terms of you moved from being an employee to being a partner. How did that transition go? Did it take a bit of a transition to go, hey, now we're actually business partners versus you're my boss before?
Yeah. So Dave and I have had an incredible relationship, Phil, and I'll talk to you sort of as we progress about how we went through. I mean, we've been working together for 17 years. We speak every day, whether it's 2 to 3 times a day, like we just do. An amazing partnership. How did it go from an employee to a partner? Really wasn't a big change. I was really patient, Phil, really patient, because I was being rewarded throughout the process. I was building up a business. I was getting good income. I was getting paid a bonus. Obviously, we had a bonus structure, which I absolutely agree most businesses should have. And then it was just really an offer came knocking, and it was like, I'm very loyal to David, and I approached him about that, and that's how the partnership side came in.
Yeah, cool. So your tip for a young advisor is go get an offer somewhere else.
Wouldn't necessarily say that, but what I get a lot of being a part of Perpetual now. I get a lot of the young guys coming to me, and hey, they get itchy feet, but it's sometimes you need to test the water. You do. Sometimes you need to test the water to wake up your employee or your employer, I should say. It's just, I don't have anything against it.
Yeah, and that's right. And I'm very candid with my team. It's like, hey, if you like early on when we were just starting the business, we couldn't pay what some of the big firms could be paying. And I said, I know you can walk across the road and get a job somewhere else. And here we have benefits, and there's lots of good things about our workplace that you need to buy into, that's really important. But if you want to maximize your pay, your take-home pay, then there are other businesses. And I was very candid with the team, and because people aren't stupid. They know if they're going to get a pay rise somewhere else, but there's pros and cons that they weigh up. And now we're a bit further along, and so we can be a bit more competitive with our salaries. But early on, I was just very candid with the team.
Absolutely. And it's hard. You've got to try and convince someone to come on the journey. I sound like an old man here, but the generation's a little bit different. The guys starting work now.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. One thing about me, I'm incredibly competitive, insanely competitive. So we've got NMG reports that tell us about the best performing advice firms. I call up BDMs because we don't get a copy of them. call up BDMs all the time. What number are we and who's number one? And they're not allowed to tell me anything. Of course, they don't tell me anything. But if someone was to tell me something, priority life is always number one. How do you guys do it? How are you the best?
It's a tough one, Phil. I actually don't follow the M&G report. It's pretty terrible.
Or maybe you should. Maybe
I know. I'm also a bit of a recluse in the industry. As you might know, I've always just kept my head down and focused. How are we always number one? We've got a great team, Phil. We're I wouldn't say we're all competitive. We spend money to promote ourselves as a business in a medical fraternity and medical community, and that assists bringing in a lot of clients. In terms of new clients, we go to conferences. I mean, it's no secret. This is sort of what we do, and they're great clients. Every conference we're coming across a client that spends tens and thousands of dollars, if not over $100,000. They just do. It's that market. And so how do we do it? We've got a big book of business. Changes happen, Phil. I mean, no business in their right mind can tell me they're not reviewing their clients based on what's coming out of insurers. That's naturally a part of growth and new business. There's no denying that. That's what it is. But we invest heavily in new business. And I guess, it works. Obviously, it's proven to work on the NMG report. Are we competitive? I'd love to. I think the guys are competitive in our office. David and I were never competitive with each other because I always won. So he sort of gave up after a while.
Yeah.
But, he'll like this. But, we're competitive, but it's really healthy competition.
Yeah. Well, you can't tell me you're not competitive when you throw in the we never competed because I always won. That sounds like a comment from a competitive guy.
No, but I mean, it's phenomenal to see the guys succeeding. And it's, how do I say, we share, we work collaboratively. We just have, I don't know, it's our culture, and it breeds new business enjoyment, which obviously translates into success.
Yeah. And so we're, in my business at Sky, so we're on a growth trajectory. We're very, very young. We've got clients. Our oldest policy is probably like 4 years old. We've got a few small legacy clients, but most of them are just like 4-year-old policies. And we've got like $6.5 million in in-force premiums, and we're growing at, 1.5 to 2 mil a year. But like for a more established business, you guys, are much more established, much further down the road. How much of your time are you focused on like generating new clients, new business versus kind of just maintaining your existing client base?
Yeah, great question. I'm a lot more now involved in maintaining the client base, managing that client base, just with the clients that I've obtained over the years. The good thing or the bad thing is, I mean, I've been an advisor now for 10 years. The problem with that is all that work that I did in the first few years with referral partners, opportunities, has started to really come, it breeds success like it has. And so the fact is I work on new business quite a lot. I think this year, I will be transitioning to a lot more of managing clients. My associate now, as I mentioned before, is now an advisor. So he's able to work on a lot of new business clients, etc. But I'd say it's about 60-40. So 60% spent on my clients. Claims are a huge thing, Phil, an enormous thing at the moment. I've never seen claims come in like they have been, but I love it. I get a lot more satisfaction, and maybe that's just showing my age. I get a lot more satisfaction dealing with the claim than writing a, $100,000 policy. I do. It's just, I haven't written so many of them in my life, but it's just, that's where I love. So I'm spending about 60-40, 60 on existing business and then 40 still with relationships and new business.
Yeah, right. And within the business, do you guys run like kind of siloed? Like each advisor brings in their own clients and they manage their own clients. So you've got like kind of your client base, or is it shared across the group? How does that actually work?
So every client has an advisor attached to them, and every client gets reviewed by that advisor. We've had, I think, about a couple of years ago, 2 older advisors retired, and so the new 2 advisors that came in transitioned with those clients. So we like to keep it quite simple. Every advisor's got their client base and deal with them and any issues associated with them.
And so a new advisor who comes in, finishes their PY or whatever, will you guys, group up a collection of clients and say, hey, these are now your clients to look after?
Absolutely. So, for example, Kiva, who is my associate, is now taking on, a huge amount of my clients because it's a really smooth transition. They've been dealing with him for 4 years, and I've slowly sort of weaned off them. I have a real big problem, Phil, in terms of that. It's very hard for me to give up clients because I don't just like palming them off. I've cultivated them, I've grown them, I've dealt with them through various issues. It's very hard. I feel like it's like I'm doing the wrong thing by passing them to another advisor. But I've learned to do that because I trust who's coming through.
And if you could just, wave a magic wand and restructure your business however you wanted, would you have that same way of doing business, or would you change it up?
Phil, I'd love to sort of. I think we're too big now potentially to automate a lot of processes in terms of renewals, contacting, using Calendar, using tech to book in appointments, etc. I think it's just too much. If I was starting from scratch, I'd be a lot more tech focused. Okay. Our data, everything we can do, anything by the click of a button. In terms of database stuff, explain phenomenally well. It's just I think that tech and that automation is something that we're missing. So if I was to wave the magic wand, it would be more of that.
Yeah. The reason, obviously, I'm just selfishly asking about what mistakes am I making, and how do I maybe stop making those mistakes, and what am I doing well, and double down into it. But I guess that our model at Sky, we think about the clients as clients of Sky's, and we want the business to form these relationships with the clients, and so we're thinking about. We've got kind of new business advisors and review advisors in the business. And so, that's how we think about it. Basically now we're doing a one-on-one consulting session. So thank you for doing this. But that kind of a model, what are the pitfalls in that type of a model?
Yeah. I think, I love that we're all Sky. And we've got that at Priority Life. We have it. People know Priority Life. People know Brad. They know David. They know Moish. They know Akiva. They know Luke. They do. So we've got that side. I think the only pitfall is a client builds a relationship with me at the start, as an example, and my associate. And I've always just been about continuing that relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it your way, where you've got a new business advisor or review advisor. Just nice to keep that one relationship throughout that period. I think the thing is what we don't realize, and a lot of people don't as risk advisors, and you well and truly know this, people are telling you everything up front. You're learning every little secret about a client that sometimes not even their spouses know. So to keep that relationship and always have that behind you is a really important thing. A review advisor may not know that, nor would the client want them to know that. So I like that one-man relationship or two-man relationship to a client, especially if I'm away or someone's away. But that would be my only, not objection to what you're doing, but, giving you some thoughts about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Priority Life was acquired several years ago. What was the driving factor in making that decision?
So I think it was just we'd had many conversations over years, with various funds, insurers, etc. We had quite a few initial conversations. When it was time to sell the business, I think it was just the right time. It was the right time. It was important for David as well, to have an exit strategy. The business was too big for me to say to David, let me buy you out, let me take control of it. And I respected that. And I think Perpetual, that brand, that business, one of the oldest financial institutions in Australia, it just resonated well with us and our clients. Has anything changed? Not really, Phil. It's just, there's a new owner. David and I always laugh. We say the only problem is we don't own it anymore, because it's grown quite considerably during that time, quite substantially in the last 4 years. What's the biggest negative? We don't own it anymore, So, But what led to it? I think it was just, you always sort of build a business, and I think that's anyone, to one day sell it or pass it on to someone else. And I think this was at a point where it was just was right.
And so were you, at the time when you were considering it, were you getting approached and getting offers, or were you actively going out there and going, hey, you know what, I think this is the way we're going to go?
Yep, we never actively went out at all. It was purely just some approaches coming in, and, we met a few people prior to Perpetual coming in. It just wasn't right. And, it was just, we weren't doing anything to get out there and say this is for sale.
Yeah. And what is your advice for someone who is looking at selling their business? And let's talk about maybe a more considerable business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the key thing is maybe to speak to brokers. There's some really good guys out there to deal with that are aware of other businesses, whether it be listed companies, smaller companies, insurers, etc., looking to buy businesses. I think, you look at businesses like Steadfast. I don't know it well, and the wonderful guys at MBS, they're always looking for businesses. So it's good to just not put it on the market, but have initial chats with some guys who are really well entrenched in various businesses. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, I'm not looking to sell. My team asked me the other day.
I wouldn't tell you to, Phil. You got, it's going to be a wonderful big business.
If someone came and threw me a crazy number, it's hard to say no to a crazy number, but I'll probably be around for 20 years. I've got no kind of desire to get out and sail off in the sunset. I kind of get too bored to not run my own business.
Totally. I was young, when it all sort of came through, and I thought, I could have, held on for a lot longer. But at the same time, and this is me, Phil, I respected the decision and where David was in his life, and that's what a true partnership is.
And you didn't have $20 million in your back pocket to buy him out, so that
I didn't have that. I didn't have that, so it would have been nice, but I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Still don't have it,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, we talked about the journey of advice and the way your model with the advisors. What's your kind of advice for a young advisor or pre-advisor who wants to get into advice?
Look, guys, it depends on where you want to specialize. So let's talk about insurance. Okay, we're here now. Find a really good firm who you resonate well with. Now, they may not pay you the best. I feel we've just had that conversation, but find somewhere where you can grow, develop, do your PY. Okay, and the PY is a tough year. I've just seen a Kiva go through it, not to scare young advisors, but it is challenging, and find the right mentor or person who's happy to invest time into you. That journey that you're doing, Phil, that we've done, really important. Be patient, take it slow, because if you want to be on the top of NMG, okay, and you want to be a really great advisor, take the time. Don't rush to get on the tools a year after you start learning, because it's just, if people can see through that, Phil, they really can. Clients are a lot smarter than they were 20 years ago, and they can really see through that. So learn the emotional side, be patient, learn the products, deal with a lot of claims, and then, slowly get out there.
And touching on that, we are, always recruiting younger advisors, and in the past we've had this kind of conversation with advisors who are maybe been in a generalist kind of firm, holistic, and having concerns about moving to specialization into risk. How do you guys manage that within your business, having, advisors going, well, I'm only going to do risk from now on?
We haven't had too much of that, because a lot of the guys haven't come through. We've got advisors who have either come through our business, okay, and they've grown into an advisor in risk, or we've employed risk advisors. But a really good question is, I laugh, Bill, why would you want to do investments, analytic planning? Why? I mean, risk is just so much, it's incredible, but it's not as sexy, let's be honest, it's not as sexy. So I think it's a challenge to try and convince someone to go from holistic to risk. It is, but they've got to really make that call that they're happy to invest the time and grow a really great business. But it's just so much better, Phil. You dealt in both a little bit in general, and I mean, it's just,
I'm with you. I went from holistic and thinking, insurance was like 10% of our business, and our business
Yeah.
was not
Yeah.
like our business was a very, very small business. And then I moved into specializing in insurance. I'm like, hey, this is so much more complex than I ever thought it was. Like
It is
everyone kind of
complex.
thinks it's easy, and I'm like,
Mhm.
give me a core satellite portfolio every day of the week. That's easy.
It's, I see how hard it is, and many of your listeners probably won't like this, and it's no disrespect to anyone at all, but I actually don't know how holistic businesses can do both really well. And I'm sorry for those listeners who will have a crack at me, but we do risk so well. We invest so much time into it. I just don't know how I could find the time to do investments as well.
Yeah, and I think there is. I mean, I'd love to hear your view on this. Do you feel like there is a trend into this? Let's refer to specialists.
Definitely. Yep. I'd say over the past 12 months, some of my biggest new clients that have come across have been from financial planners.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what I'm seeing a lot is this. It used to be like let's just try and capture a share of wallet for a client. And now it's like,
Yep.
oh, hold on. We may stuff this up, or especially insurance. It's kind of like if you're getting a decline every third policy, you're going to get pissed off that you've spent all that time. So you may as well give it to someone else to waste their time or to find the right product and the right underwriting that suits that client.
Yep. Yep. So, absolutely, Phil. And as again, I apologize to some of those guys that disagree with me, but I just feel it's the future.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Have you guys, or over your time, have you guys ever thought about getting into holistic, or is that just been a never? We won't ever consider that.
Yeah. So pre-perpetual time, we actually looked into it at the time, and we didn't proceed with moving forward in the holistic side. If I look back and I say, prior to sale, what should we have done in the business? I probably what would have really married up nicely was finance. Okay, like we should have had mortgages or something like that. Now we've got someone holistic in the business from Perpetual. So he was actually an ex-risk advisor who I knew, a gentleman named Raymond Macker. And he's come into the business as a holistic advisor dealing with a lot of our clients. And that gels really well now. A lot of my clients are now in that 50 to 65. So there's a lot more of that conversation. That's working out well.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. And so what does the future hold for you? Where are you in 5 years' time?
Who's listening?
Yeah.
Nah. Well, if sky's offering, it'd be.
They were always offering. I tell you what, I am non-stop recruiting. I throw out job offers to everyone and anyone I meet who I think is good. Even if we don't have jobs, I'm like, I'll work it out.
100%.
We just want to collect good people who do good stuff, and then we'll work it out.
Yep. It's great. You know what, Phil, in terms of in the industry, absolutely. I'll still be here. I love it. I'll still be a recluse. I'm not like, that's just me. That's just me. I like to put my head down and just sort of focus. So I will absolutely still be in the industry. I think it's only going to get better and better. It's just, there's going to be more demand, more advice. That's why I like the young guys coming through. Their future's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be really good. Yeah. So will I still be here in 5 years? Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks heaps for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I got two last questions for you. First one is, when do you get a chance to do your emails?
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually on top of my emails ridiculously. Like, I'm OCD about my emails. If I have five or more in my inbox, I freak out. So when do I do my emails? I'm on top of them. I like to, in the morning, get rid of them, and then start the day. I know what I'm doing. Things come up, but I'm continuously on my emails. Probably I shouldn't be. I've always heard these other things. Look at them every half hour. Look at them every 2 hours. No, I just do them and I move on.
I'm that type of person. I kind of live in my emails. And because we've grown kind of really quickly, I'm got my hands in there almost every pie. Now I'm getting it out. My hands out of different areas of the business. I got to inbox zero today for the first time in 6 months, and mainly because I had one email that I was just ignoring for ever. But I'm like a bit crazy about getting emails done. Like I can't have unread emails in my inbox, and I try and get rid of them all. But
Yeah.
I've noticed over the last kind of month, I'm getting heaps less emails than I ever used to, which is amazing.
Great. That's the plan.
And then the second question, the last one is, what's one interesting hobby that you have?
Interesting hobby, hobbies. An interesting one. Funny enough, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to how do I relax occasionally, and I love video games. Phil,
Yeah.
That's an interesting. That's my interesting hobby.
Are you a console or computer?
Yeah, console. I'm a console man. Ever since I was young, my kids. I've got 3 gorgeous young kids, and they've come into games. So every night we're playing a bit of Mario Kart, and this Mario and that Mario, and So that's my interesting hobby.
I love it. I got an Xbox a few years ago, but I got 3 daughters, and we play Minecraft Dungeons. They all get a control because we can all do it together. And then our youngest, who's like useless, well, that's fine. We can all do it together, and we all feel like we're doing it.
It's great, good fun, So yeah, that's my hobby. But Phil, thank you. I've loved it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, heaps, for coming on.
And just keep doing what you're doing. And the podcast is amazing. Everyone loves it. So awesome. We appreciate it from the community.
Thanks, mate.
Good to see you, buddy.
If you've enjoyed this episode and you think someone else will get value out of it, I'd love it if you could forward it on to them. And as always, we can continue the conversation in the My Risk Advisor Facebook group. All you need to do, open up Facebook and search My Risk Advisor, and I'll see you in there.